Okay guys, I'm back. So want to welcome you either back to our channel or welcome you for the first time. We hope you'll find a lot of value here. We try and pack it full of content and pack it full of value for you as you're building your insurance business. And remember, we're here to discuss the facts. We're here to provide as much documentation as we can and then allow you really to make the decision to decide what's best for you. Before I forget, Steve's always reminding me of this. Don't forget to mash the bell. Click on the subscribe button so you get updated every time we put a new video out, and send us some comments. We love some feedback. It makes us feel good. Okay, so what do I want to talk about today? There's something that has been kind of an interesting phenomenon that I see, and I'll tell you a little bit about my story and Steve's story and the differences that I'm seeing nowadays. And you know, I'm kind of I'm a very simple person, so I try and keep the context of what I do, I try and keep it simple. I try and keep what I do simple. I try and keep the tools that I need simple. I am the kind of person that, you know, grabs just enough to be dangerous and effective, and I'm out the door to an appointment. I'm not necessarily a great researcher. We'll just leave it there. I'm not a great researcher. Steve's the researcher. He's good at that. And so I have always relied very heavily on Steve to do a lot of that back-end research. And so whenever he has brought a concept or you know, a business opportunity or anything like that to me, I've always had complete faith, knowing that he's done his due diligence. He's gone out and done some of the work, that all I really need to do is have faith in what he's doing, because I know that I'm kind of following someone who has done the work, done the legwork, and knows what he's talking about. And in this business, I think that it's very, very important that you are connected with somebody who has really done a lot of that work as well, and somebody who is out there doing the work on a consistent basis. And I've always been blessed to kind of inherently have that in my life. But I think that if you're brand new to this industry, or if you're looking for a new IMO, or you're changing IMOs, or just searching for your first IMO to figure out, you know, where do I want to kind of hang my shingle, I think it's important that you look for an upline, a mentor, a coach, whatever you want to call it, a business partner, whatever term you want to use, that is out there putting their names on applications on a very consistent, if not a weekly basis. And here's why. I think that people have a tendency sometimes to always, when they look at a particular company, people tend to gravitate towards the guy on the top of the mountain, right? Everybody wants to kind of align themselves with the guy doing the best and the most. This guy's the top producer. He writes the most applications. He writes the most APV. He's got the biggest team. You know, he's the #1 income earner. And all of those things are great. And I'm not discounting any of those things. And I'm not saying that those people don't put their names on applications. Okay? So you can save the email on that one. But what I am saying is, if you're brand new, you want to make sure that you're kind of locking arms with somebody who is out there doing it on a consistent basis, who's out there kind of in the trenches right along with you, who's having success, because you want someone that's going to challenge you a little bit, and someone that, you know, Steve talks a lot about this, someone that is can kind of walk across the river and knows where the rocks are to put your steps, right, to step your feet, right? So you want somebody who's having a moderate amount, at least, of success, more than where you're at, starting from ground zero. But I think it's really important that we not get kind of caught up in the shiny object, so to speak, and work with somebody that is out there, like I said, in the trenches every single day, getting it done and doing the same type of work that you are going to be doing, because you will find that it's a value to you. The second reason, and I mentioned it before, is you want someone that's going to kind of challenge you a little bit, right? People are motivated by that challenge. So there was an old saying, and I'm going to mess it up, so You'll just have to forgive me. If somebody knows the correct saying, you can put it in the comments. That in a race, okay, what motivates the person in the number one position, in the number two position, is the person in the number one position. And what motivates the person in the number one position is the person in the number two position. So what's happening is you're either chasing someone or you're aware of the fact that you're kind of being chased by someone. And so I would encourage you to find someone that you're going to work with. Again, I hate to use the word upline. Ugh. Because you're not in anyone, you're not in a downline, or that always makes me think of downstream. Nobody wants to be downstream. Find someone that you can have that challenge with on a weekly basis, and it's also going to help you because you're going to be working with somebody that is out there getting a lot. They're getting that real life experience, that they're getting that real life experience with applications that are going to get declined, or they have to move an application from one carrier to another, or they get something wrong on the application and so they've learned a lesson. Oh, you got to make sure that you fill in this box, or make sure that they sign here. Those are the types of things. And I'll be really just full transparency. A lot of the underwriting work that I do now, things that I know, a lot of the application work, a lot of knowing. I mean, I was in the grocery store the other day and somebody called me up and said, oh, help, I have a 70-year-old male and he just found out that he has an elevated prostate level and I don't know what carrier to take him to. And mentally, I could just kind of see my own grid and know, okay, we should go in this direction or go in that direction. All of that came from starting really at ground zero, right where you're at today, and just paying attention. But it came from working with someone, really coming kind of behind Steve and having him say, oh, don't use that application. Oh, make sure that make sure you don't forget this form, or, oh, we got to make sure we do this. And it was a challenge for me. It was a challenge for me to figure out, okay, how am I going to get as many appointments as he has next week? How am I going to run as many appointments next week? How am I going to write as many applications as he has next week? So it's important from that challenge perspective, but it's also important from that learning, perspective. I get another question that comes often. Steve actually said, we keep getting this question, and so I thought I might address it. And that is, how about a woman in this industry? This is a very kneecap to kneecap type industry. It's done over the kitchen table. It's not done in fancy restaurants or boardrooms. You're there to sit in someone's home and give them that reassurance that you know what you're talking about, that you have their best interests at heart, that you're there for one reason and one reason only. Maybe some of you have heard Steve say that before. And so I think that sometimes this is a very male-driven business. I've always had kind of obviously I'm a woman, but I have a very different perspective, I think, sometimes than a lot of women. I don't tend to evaluate things based on that, on that scorecard, I guess, is probably. I didn't look at the insurance industry and say, I've got to kind of break through this industry or break through this team because I'm a woman and most of you are men. That really wasn't important to me. I'll tell you what was really important to me. It was really important to me to earn commissions. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to go out and help families. I like being in that situation of helping people. I liked being the person of authority in their home with this information and being able to kind of maybe steer them in a correct area or steer them away from an incorrect thought process or product or what have you. But I wanted to make money. That was my goal. And I thought, wow, an industry where I could do both would be pretty amazing. But if you are a woman in this industry, I think that there's a couple things that are really important. One is, for me, is not to be that really super giddy person, that really super, peppy, has your pom-poms out all the time, you're like a sparkler. I try and be very down to earth and realistic and real when I sit with someone. So, when I meet with a family, I try not to be like bouncing off the walls. I try not to wear my, my best, most amazing outfit. I try and dress, and based on the areas that you're working on, you'll probably know. I try and dress at about the level of where I'm going to be going, or one step above. I try and keep it relatively bland. Don't wear a lot of jewelry, so that you're not, you don't want to be the, I don't know what, you're not jumping out of a cake. It should be. I try and keep myself, not a lot of jewelry. Should be relatively vanilla, I guess is kind of the word, right? So that's one thing. The second question that I have had some women in the past ask me about, and then it seems to get pretty quickly, dealt with, is, do you ever find yourself in an awkward situation in a home? And I have to say, knock on wood, I don't. 99.999% of the people that I meet with are just genuinely very nice people. I've already had a bit of a phone conversation, so I kind of already have an idea of what I'm walking into. If you are in, more rural area, we have some pretty rural areas that we work here in Northern California. And so sometimes I end up, kind of a little bit off the beaten path. But I have to say, I've never really felt like I was in a situation where I wasn't safe. And here's the great thing about this industry, and about, if you feel like it's going to be an uncomfortable situation, trust your intuition, get back in your car and go book another appointment, right? But I think more importantly is the perspective of how are you going to handle yourself in a home, because, you're going to meet with a lot of people that aren't going to have, these aren't mega mortgages. These are relatively for the most part, blue collar, some white collar workers with moderate mortgages, and they're concerned about one thing. They don't want to lose their home if their spouse dies, and they want to make sure that it's protected for their families or for their kids. And that really is, I think, the most important thing that you have to bear in mind. So you want to make sure that you're not going in, and this goes back to, the person that you're working with that's going to have a little bit of experience ahead of you, and that is to go into a home with, again, not looking like a, like a rock star, or, you should be kind of at their level, so you're not intimidating, and so that you don't appear like you've brought in rates that are going to be, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. And you should make sure that you're communicating really on their level. We always talk about, not using big words when you're in the home. I think Steve's done a video about this. You're not there to impress them with your insurance knowledge, which also goes back to, getting good at booking an appointment, getting good at relating to people, and spending less time trying to figure out all the big fancy words in the underwriting guide, right? Because that's what will make you effective. To go in, to communicate genuinely to people, and honestly with them, and make them, not just make them feel, but remind them that you truly are there on their side, and there for one reason and one reason only, and that's to help protect their phone. So, not to protect the phone, to protect their home. That should probably be on the bloopers reel, but that's okay. Don't forget to mash the bell and click the subscribe button so that you are notified of new videos when we post them, and blooper reels too. We hope that you've enjoyed this. I hope there was some value to this for you. If there was, go ahead and leave us a comment. We always love a thumbs up. And stay tuned for more videos. Bye, guys.